sorry, the number you have reached is not in service. Please check the number or try your call again. This is a recording.
Are you listening?
Hello there,
I'm Darius,
and I'm Sam.
and welcome to the Oxfordshire Youth Podcast. This podcast is by young people, for young people, just to talk about the things that we care about.
We're here to give you a voice, whether that's the voice of your creativity, your professionalism, or just something that you're doing that you feel needs to be spoken about.
And if you want to get in touch and actually get on this podcast, you really can.
We don't bite. I mean, we promise.
And we promise. But the real question here is, are you listening?
I mean, are you listening?
Are you listening?
Are you listening?
Let's just get on into the podcast. Welcome back to the Black Lives Matter mini-series. There are some themes within this mini-series that may be upsetting to you. If it is triggering to you, themes of racism, bullying, and various other things, please we implore you to listen to another one of our podcasts that will be much more beneficial to you. Thank you, and we hope you enjoyed the Black Lives Matter mini-series. Let's get into it right now. Hello and welcome back to the Oxfordshire Youth Podcast. We are back in the Black Lives Matter mini-series. This is the first episode of Fantastic Allies and Where to Find Them. Today we will be speaking to Aria, a YouTube sensation, one of my besties, like our queen, like a certified queen. And again, I'm not just saying that because she's my friend, I'm saying that because it's factual, it is true. Her YouTube link will be in the description below. Like, you can check her out, go watch her videos. They are empowering, they're inspiring. She recently released a video that is her poetry. Her poetry, you know, it was amazing. Like, go and check it out. And another amazing lady that we had on today's episode is Jenny. Now, Jenny is such a brilliant lady. I've had the privilege of working with her over the past year or so now. So she has worked alongside me and so many other amazing young people, including Sam, and some other brilliant people you've heard along this podcast so far. So you've heard from Taya and Christian along this journey of the Oxfordshire Youth Podcast. They are all part of Oxfordshire Youth Voice. And we all are involved in pulling together different amazing things, such as the Oxfordshire Youth Awards. They are coming, guys. I know it's been time. It's been time, but the Oxfordshire Youth Awards is coming soon. One day soon, hopefully by the time this is out, we will have a date, but soon, it's coming. But Jenny is fantastic, such a brilliant, fantastic human being, and I am so privileged to know her. I'm so privileged to know both of these ladies. So we are going to get into this, just talking about so many different things. I just want to really delve into what and how it feels like to be an ally during the pandemic and during so many other things that have been happening in the world at this moment in time. So let's speak to them right now. Hi guys, how are you doing? Aria, it's so lovely to see you. How are you?
Oh, I'm good, thank you, Darius. It's really good, lovely weather, been productive today. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm so happy that this is happening. Jenny, how are you?
I'm very good. I'm just eating my lunch at the moment.
You know what, girl, no shame.
As usual.
No shame. Food is life. Like,
It is.
as we've discovered over the Oxfordshire Youth Podcast, we talk about food a lot, like probably more than we should do. So Aria, like, I kind of plugged you a little bit earlier about your amazing YouTube channel and all the brilliant things you do, but like, tell the listeners, the viewers, just a bit more about your amazing channel.
Oh, you're so sweet, Darius. Thank you. I honestly don't do much. I'm just kind of like a creative, aspiring creative. I want to go into the film industry, kind of make films that make a difference, talk about issues that I had when I was growing up, issues that other people have faced that I don't really know about. That's the kind of stuff I want to go into, and I want to go to uni and study film production. And so that's why I kind of started YouTube, just to get me on my feet a bit, practice those filmmaking skills, and just get talking about issues that I think are important.
Awesome, fabulous. And Jenny, so I mentioned earlier, like, I feel like I've known you for just over a year now. I think it's probably longer. and we've been working on some amazing projects together.
I think it's just under a year actually.
Yeah,
Because I joined Oxford Youth Awards last Christmas,
oh my goodness.
so it's just under a year.
I feel like I've known you like my whole life now. Like I feel like the friendship has been there. But yeah, how's that experience been for you?
I've really enjoyed it. I'm being your personal photographer at Blenheim Palace. It's all been fun.
Those some good times.
Done a lot of interesting things, met new people.
Amazing. Like I just firstly, as I've said previously, like you guys didn't hear it, I'll say it again now that you're here. I feel so honoured to know you both. Like you're both so amazing in like different ways, and like yeah, I'm just excited to like get into this and have this like really, really deep conversation, because it's important that we have these conversations like with our friends, with our families, with our colleagues. So yeah, let's just jump straight into it. Now, I've been asking this question to everyone, and I'll continue to ask this to everyone, but how did you guys feel, or how did you guys react when you saw the brutal murders of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and countless others? How did you react to all of this atrocity?
So yeah, and when I first found out about the murders, I think it was a state of shock that first came over me, right? As everyone else would, obviously. And I think what shocked me the most was not only the fact that the murders happened, but the fact that it was brushed over. Like people tried to brush it over and stop talking about it. And I think, I don't know if that happened for everyone, but I recognized that within like my own friendship groups and people I care about. It was really difficult to just keep that conversation going because people wanted to start talking about other things. And I remember when the Madeleine McCann thing started to come up and people were diverting away from Black Lives Matter and what happened with those murders and started talking about this disappearance of a little girl. Like obviously that's equally as important, but that was a long time ago and this has just happened and this is happening to so many people, and it just kind of screams white privilege, doesn't it? I mean, yeah, that was I think one of the hard parts about it, people choosing to be ignorant about it.
Jenny, how did you react to all of this? Like, I mean, it's been a lot. I mean, probably not now. Now in the media, it's kind of quietened down quite a lot. Like, they like to kind of brush it under the carpet and be like, yeah, Black Lives can't still matter, but not that much. But before, like earlier on in like this year, it was so loud.
When I was having this discussion with my mother 2 days ago, she didn't want me to come today because she was worried. And I was like wondering why. She was worried because she didn't want me to be a target for police if anything went wrong. But I'm here today because my mother shouldn't have to worry about that.
Yeah. Jenny, how did you react when you first saw everything going on?
I feel like every year you always kind of have one story that like someone that's been murdered by the police like kind of becomes like a martyr for the cause. So like you're never really shocked when that happens, but like when you really do the research into it, you're shocked at how much it is reported. It's always like in America, never the UK. So like you never really know the extent in the UK yourself. So I think when you do the research, it's more than what the media kind of. I don't know if that.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you sharing that. Now the next question, I think this is an interesting one because I want to get like your opinions on this because I feel like this leads into a bigger part of the conversation to do with Black Lives Matter. Obviously, Black Lives Matter is not just a movement that is just for Black people, which I know is seen, everyone's like, oh, it's just Black people. Like, no. This is a movement for equality because at the moment, Black lives currently do not matter. Once Black lives do matter, then we will have a bit more of a level playing field, therefore getting more towards equality. So I'm just interested, like, if you're comfortable discussing this, what is like your cultural background or heritage, and have you ever been a victim of either racism, discrimination, or anything like that? Because I feel like these all are different things that lead into Black Lives Matter. Because previously within this mini-series, I was talking to an amazing lady called Sasha Johnson, and we was talking about all of the, I guess they're little things, but they're really big things within the Black community, about how you hear all about, you know, the Black men and women that have been killed, but then you don't hear so much about the Black trans men and women who've been killed, or the Black non-binary people who have been killed. And it's like, wait, why not? Because they're just as important. And it's like, those are the kind of underlying issues that aren't talked about in like the Black community. So I'm just intrigued, like, what have you guys been through? Like, have you been victims of racism or discrimination, and what are your cultural backgrounds? Jenny, do you want to start on this one?
As like a white cisgendered woman, I've never really had to deal with like racial issues. I'm obviously very privileged in that way. I've been discriminated against as being a woman, but like I feel like it's nowhere near as bad as it would have been if I was a Black woman.
Even being a Black man, I can't like in any way relate to being a woman in any way, shape or form. So no matter what I go through, like being a Black man, going through any kind of like racism, discrimination, whatever, my journey is never going to be the same as a woman, let alone a Black woman, because it's like my body doesn't get objectified in the same way that a woman does. So I think that's really, I mean, thank you for bringing that up, because that's extremely important, because when we're looking at equality, which is exactly what Black Lives Matter is talking about, equality, that looks at feminism. Because when you look at feminism at the moment, feminism as a whole is not intersectional. It's just kind of looking at just white women at the top being like the be-all and end-all of feminism. And I think that's an amazing thing to bring up, so thank you very much, Jenny. Aria, what is your response to that? Like, how do you feel at growing up? Where you grew up, like, were you ever a victim of racism, discrimination, and also what is your cultural heritage and background?
Okay, so most people can tell I'm of Asian descent. I'm South Asian, so my parents are both from India in a little place called Kerala, which is in the south coast. So that makes me Malayali. It's a bit confusing, but yeah, I am Malayali. That's how I define myself. And yeah, I mean, of course, I've been victims of racism. Like, it would be like very shocking if I wasn't. I think most people of color are victims of racism at least once in their life. For me, luckily, I've not experienced it that much. And I think that may have something to do with colorism. I'm not too sure, but I think that being on the lighter side of my ancestors and like people in my family, I've had and reaped the benefits of that in, I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but if someone was in, you know, my culture is darker than me, there's a lot of colorism towards them. And, you know, we have skin lightening creams that everyone's sick of, like Fair and Lovely, and there's all sorts of like skin bleaching and stuff that's recommended in the media and stuff. So I grew up seeing all of that, and I was told to stay out of the sun. And whenever I did go in the sun, I'd come home and my family would be like, oh, you're getting a bit dark, Aria. That's not very good. And I think that is their anti-blackness, actually, and their phobia, the Asians' phobia of having dark family members, because they're racist. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're being so horrible and discriminatory to their own people because of their hatred for Black people. And that is a shame. But personally, yeah, of course, I've had racist like comments and stuff said to me. A lot of the time it's the P word, you know, that I'm sure you're familiar with it and stuff. And there was something called P bashing back in, like, I want to say the 60s, 70s, I'm not too sure, maybe 80s. And that, you know, people would literally go up and beat Asian people and just say, because they hated Asian people, they hated Pakistani people, and anyone brown was Pakistani to them. And that is still very present. I was working in Boots not too long ago, a couple months back, and this elderly lady, she came up to my till point and said, oh, you're beautiful, where are you from? And I said, oh, I'm from India. And she said, oh, so you're not Pakistani? And I was like, no, I'm not. And she was like, oh, good, I can't stand them.
Really?
So I just, you don't know what to say in that situation. And you know, when you're in a customer service position, what are you supposed to say? You can't start an argument with them and then you want to like call them out and stuff, but you risk losing your job, and it's so uncomfortable. And I'm sure there's millions of people that have been in the same situation as I. Like, you've probably been in it, Darius, yourself, like where you actually can't say anything even though you want to. Like, you could, but you risk losing your job. So yeah.
I feel like, I think growing up, when you kind of get your first job, the likelihood is your first job is going to be in a customer service job, and then you go in as like a trainee, and it's like, oh, yay, cool, I get money, and then someone says something to you, and you're like, that's racist, like, don't say that. And then, like, I remember being at a job and being a receptionist and being on the phones, and it was a ridiculously busy day. Like, all the phones were ringing. There was about 12 customers in store, and I was like, I'm literally the only person taking orders. Like, bear with me, people. Like, bear with me. And like, this one person decided to casually use the N-word, and they're like, you ain't getting no food. Like, don't use that with me. So I got my boss and was like, yeah, this person said this. Deal with them, because I'm not. Like, I'm not dealing with them at all. And politely, that person was asked to leave, and all the customers in the store were like, hold up, wait, why did you say that? And I guess if it was just that person and me, it would have been my word against theirs, and like, because they were white, I wouldn't have, nothing would have
I have a quick question.
Yep.
Sorry, like, as a white person, like, if you witness that situation going on, obviously it's important to step forward and defend that person, but how far does it go before it's like overstepping boundaries, or like you're like kind of, you know, like the whole white savior trope? Like, how do you approach that situation without it going like too far? Do you know what I mean?
That's an amazing question.
That is a really good question.
Oh, that is a brilliant question. I feel like
obviously, because like obviously in like the whole movement, it's important that we all voice some, like, you have to voice your opinion, but like in a way it's not my opinion that needs to be heard, but like do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Oh, that's an amazing point, because there are so many people, I've been asked that before actually, like, where is the line? Like, where is it my opinion and where is it like not my opinion? And I think it's brilliant you brought it up, because loads of people will be questioning that. And I think it's not so much like, oh, am I now a white savior because I've saved a person of colour? It's more so like, someone is, okay, I think if you take colour out of it completely, if you forget colours there, someone is in need. Someone needs help at this moment in time. Are you going to stand up and help them? And I feel like if you take that out of it, that's all that really matters at the end of the day. But then I think when the whole white savior complex comes in, it's based on your intentions behind it. Because if
so it's like, if you use that to big up yourself and to seem like you're a great person, like, do it casually, don't do it for like attention or like acknowledgement.
Don't speak about it, like, you do it because it matters. You do it because that person is in a vulnerable situation, and you do it because they need to be supported. You know, like, people can stand up for themselves if they want to, but it's our roles as non-Black people to step up and say things that need to be said, because it's our people letting down Black people.
Thank you so much. See, this is why I've been so excited for these episodes, because these conversations are ridiculously important. Because I think personally, for me, it's amazing to, even though I know you guys say this anyway, but it's brilliant to hear it from you, because loads of Black people don't know that their friends have these opinions. So to hear that they do is extremely comforting. It's just, they're like, oh my goodness, like, my friends are in my corner. Like, if something was to go down, like, if I had this friend around, like, they're going to be here for me. And there was this image, I think it was in Los Angeles, of these Black people protesting, and these ladies, white ladies, stood in a line protecting them from the police. And it's like,
Yeah.
what we need. That is what we need. All we're asking for is just people to stand by us. We're not even asking for you to, like, I mean, obviously, yes, come to protest and everything, but sometimes we're not even asking for that. All we're asking for is just you to just stand by us, be our friends, just support us and stuff. Like, that's sometimes all we need.
Yeah.
And I think, thank you guys so much, because that like touched like a nerve, and thank you so much. Leading on from that, because I think this is like a perfect like bridge. Have your opinions of the UK, the media, the government, because the government be doing mad things, and all of that, everything in the UK. Have your opinions on them changed in the light of recent events? Anyone can feel free to answer that one, because I feel like I know what the answer will be.
Yeah, I mean, I have mixed opinions about the media, mostly negative, mostly, you know, I think that, you know, like with the statue being taken down in Bristol.
Yeah.
I heard a lot of people saying it should be put in a museum instead of just being demolished. And while obviously, you know, some people feel strongly about that, I have to disagree with it. And I think that why would you want to remember someone who caused that much pain? And I think the fact that they would rather put this statue up and remember them in a museum of this slave trader rather than of people who were enslaved, of the people who were tortured, essentially, right? So I think the media was a bit iffy with the way they handled that. There was a lot of opinions saying, yeah, they should go in a museum. Yeah, that should, you know, be remembered. I'm like, but yeah, you say that, but what about the people that were enslaved? Do you remember their names? Do you have all their names written down? They don't. So how is that fair? You can't just take you can't take a piece of history and only remember one side of it. I don't know. That's
like
something I think about the media.
If they were to have it in a museum, I think both sides need to be highlighted. Like, even though they did this, they still enslaved people and, you know, made people's lives incredibly difficult and horrible, put them through horrible situations. Like, if they were to do it, rather than just making them, you know, like seem like a good person. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, if they are going to do it, then like no side of the story should be ignored.
Yeah, exactly my point. But I think that regardless, they shouldn't even be remembering these slave traders. But that's just my opinion, because they didn't do anything good. But
yeah.
I don't know.
I think that's a very valid point, because like so much of history has been can I speak English? So much of history has been whitewashed, and the fact that it has been, and we have to like find out now that actually no, like Winston Churchill wasn't actually that great. Like, yeah, he has. I mean, don't get me wrong, he has done some good things. I'm not denying that, but he's done some bad things too. In the same way that, like, I'm sure in a couple of years or a couple of decades, and I'm again, if this comes out, I'm not going to be like proper defensive. I'm going to be like, okay, fine. But something about Barack Obama could come out being like, he did this, and this. That's fine, because it's like, people do bad things. We are human. It's like,
but we need to acknowledge that and learn from it.
Exactly. And when we don't do that, it's kind of like, oh no, they were only ever good. And it's like, well,
yeah.
No. And I think that's what's extremely, extremely important. So I'm gonna kind of just wrap it up a little bit now.
We just want justice. We don't want to fight anymore. We don't want to war with anybody. Like I said, justice is what we need.
Last couple of questions. And I think this one could be quite important. How have you addressed racism within your own families, friendship groups, and communities?
I think when I've heard people make comments, even in my own family, I'm just like, why do you need to say that? Like, there's like if you make them explain it, then they'll start to be like, oh, like if they make a joke about it and it's clearly a racist joke and you'll be like, oh, what do you mean by that? Then they'll understand what they're really saying, and then they'll get all flustered and embarrassed, and it's just like, so you know that it's not right to have that opinion, which is why you're getting embarrassed about it. Like, so you know that it's not okay.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Jenny. Sorry to jump in there, Darius.
Sorry.
I actually read something a little while ago that said, if anyone, well, a few years ago even, and I've always stuck by it, if anyone's ever racist to you or says a racist joke, just say, I don't find it funny. Can you explain it to me? And that puts them back. And my ex-boyfriend was actually really racist. I'm calling him out here. But he used to like say all these random little comments and stuff. And every single time I'd be like, what do you mean by that? Can you explain it? And he'd be like, oh. Do you know what I mean? Like, they can never explain. So I completely agree. That's a really fantastic approach you've used.
But like, I think calling people out for their own behaviour and acknowledging that it's wrong is important, because even if they don't change their opinion, the younger people that see that they're being reprimanded for that are going to learn that that isn't an okay behaviour. So like, even like, you know, it's not going to make an impact on the person that said it, you know, but it's going to impact the other people around them.
A lot of the time, people don't even completely understand like the air quoting jokes that they're saying, because like they aren't jokes, they're like very seriously hurtful things. And as you're saying, like if they can't explain it, or they can't explain like anything behind it, it's like, well, why say it then? Like why even open your mouth and say it? Aria, what about you? Like, how have you like addressed it in like the people around you?
Yes, so I actually have had a couple of phone calls with my own dad, which have been challenging. I mean, I don't have the best relationship with my dad anyway. We don't live together. So it's been hard. It's always been over the phone. I can't see his facial expressions. I can't, you know, have that connection with him essentially. So it's really just hearing his voice and speaking. And he said something really disgusting about Black people. And my whole life, I feel like I've been in a bit of a bubble, and I've always thought, oh no, my family aren't racist. My family aren't racist. They just don't really like me being dark. That's what I kind of always thought. And he said something which I'm not going to repeat on here just because it's so barbaric. And it broke me. It really broke me. And I was crying down the phone to him. He said, Aria, why are you getting so emotional? Aria, this, I'm that. Dad, you know one of my best friends is Black, and you're saying this to me. You're saying this disgusting comment. And he said, no, it's just, I know how they are. Like, this is how I was raised, Aria. This is the beliefs I have. I'm like, yeah, you're saying that you were raised like that, but I'm telling you that's wrong. That's not realistic. And you're basing your opinions on Black people off of assumptions, off of stereotypes, and that's really wrong. And I said, people make stereotypes about you, Dad. You're a dark-skinned Indian man, and this is how you're gonna treat Black people. And he said, I have friends that are Black. I'm not racist. I have friends that are Black. But you just, what is it you, exactly, what was it you just said? Like, I know you're a good person. I know you're a nice person, but you're racist. Yeah. And I think that's the hardest thing about, you know, having a racist family member, is the fact that you love them so much and you know they're a good person and you know they're amazing, but there's still they've still got that negative part about them that you have to work on. And the way I've kind of dealt with it is just having those gentle conversations, having to hear him out, even though I don't agree with him, having to hear him out so that he hears me out. Because the only way someone is gonna change their mind about something is if you listen to them, so that they'll listen to you. And I feel like you have to be patient with these things, and it still takes time. I mean, I think my dad is still racist, but he has heard me out and he has listened to me far more than he was a couple of months ago.
That's interesting. I feel like, I agree. I feel like listening is extremely important on every side. Like, listening to, as you said, like the racist opinions, listening to the anti-racist opinions, because that's the only place we can get to any kind of understanding, like to understand like why people have those thoughts, feelings, and opinions. But yes, no, I think that's absolutely amazing.